welcome to Functional Fun. I'm SpaceC, and together with me, there are Studio Sunbird, creators of the game Prickle. Prickle is like a wholesome puzzle game where you're playing the hedgehog dad. He's called Dadhog, and he has to like find his cute, squishy hoglets and bring them home. So if you appreciate puzzle games that make your head scratch, keep on listening to find out how Studio Sunbird does it. Okay guys, Ido, Shaked, Ori, please share a couple of words about yourselves and your role on the team.
Okay, who's gonna start?
Go ahead, Shaked.
All right, I'm Shaked. I'm basically the music composer and sound designer for the game. I'm also one of the developers. I'm doing basically I'm the one with the most free time, so I'm doing a bit of everything. I've designed a few levels. I did a bit of coding. I did like accessibility features. Basically everything that needs to be done, and I'm trying to do it myself. But yeah, so that's my role basically.
So you kind of do everything. Impressive.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, everything except for art, I think. I did some part of it.
Oh, cool. Ido, what about you?
Hi. So I'm Edo. I'm a developer. I do a lot of the finish up things like bug fixes and like catching everything that's that all the problems, all the small problems in the game, and trying to get rid of them. I also manage things like around the project, like our Steam page and things like that. So I feel like I do a lot of invisible work of the project.
Yeah, okay. It's like you're making sure everything is clean and working according to plan.
Yeah, Ido is a problem solver. Whenever there's a problem, he's the one that will find a way to solve it.
Nice. And Ori?
Hi, I'm a software engineer in my day job, and in my free time, I'm making as much video games as I can. Right now, I'm working on Prickle with Sunbird Studio, and on Prickle, I'm mostly doing some of the programming and most of the level design.
We should mention we have a fourth member, Sahar, that does the art and the social media.
Ooh.
But he's not with us today.
Okay, we will say hi to him too whenever this gets uploaded. Hello, Saha!
Hello.
Right, so speaking of actually the art, yeah, so like one unique thing about the game is that it's like all black and white, and it looks very scribbly, like a scribbly notebook, and I really like it. So I do wonder what inspired you guys to choose this type of art style.
Well, first of all, originally we wanted it to be pixel art because our last games are in pixel art, which is what Sahar and also other team members who draw from time to time know best how to do.
I'm also pixel art, by the way.
Yeah,
so I appreciate that.
We started in pixel art, but and Sahar did the art for the jam. Yeah, Prickle started as a jam game. So Sar started making pixel art sprites, but one time he drawn on a piece of paper like how a standard level would look like, and he just scribbled something on a paper, and he just the scribbled so much, and he showed it to us, and we just decided that the scribbles should be the actual style of the game and not convert it to pixel art.
Oh, I think that was a really nice choice because this way your game really stands out with the black and white, and generally I really like how each type of square in the game has its own distinct shape language. Like, I think it's like a really clever solution for choosing just black and white for your game, like a limited color palette. So like the player is a distinct black blob kind of thing. Like the player is like actually already uses now me player image, and the kids are like a distinct white blob, and like the walls are black and white in stripes. And I think that's like very smart if you barely have any colors to work with. So I also really like how actually the doors has like a similar color to the player. They're both black colored, so they feel connected. And this way, like the player knows intuitively like where to go. So to me, these feel like many great choices, both in terms of looks, but also in terms of like UX and UI design. So I really appreciate that. So do you have any additional like interesting design choices you have made?
Something interesting that we found out that one feedback that we got for the gem version, that it felt really, really polished. And actually we spent less time polishing it than we spent on other games, but we still got feedback that it feels really, really polished. And I think
It does.
and I think that the simple art style and the like uniform art style makes things feel much more polished than they really am. So we decided to stay with that style for the full game.
Nice. So actually, because it's a bit of a simplistic, minimalistic kind of art style, then the polishing takes slightly less effort. That's cool.
Yeah, it's something that you can really see with a lot of indie developers, that they go the other way around. They try to make their games look like AAA games, and it's usually they don't get to this level of actual like realism, and then you get some kind of uncanny valley. You have like a game in 3D and very detailed, but it's not all the way there, so it doesn't feel really polished. So I think a good solution for a lot of indie developers is just to go from the beginning with a really simple art style, which is really easy to polish and to get like to get it to look good. I mean, it's way easier to make a small game and cute game with scribbly hedgehogs than to make like a triple A style game with 3D and whatever.
That's an awesome tip for indie developers who have limited time or limited budget, just to go with like a simpler art style, and then it will be easier to ace that type of art.
Yeah.
So I suppose this is also related to how pixel art is a little bit more faster to polish, I would say. I would not say it's necessarily easier as a pixel artist myself, but definitely much better and faster to polish for sure. So that's a great tip right there. Yes.
Yeah, this is for sure why most like the go-to art style for most indie devs is pixel art, I think.
We will need
something
to
that
test
you
that
can-
theory.
Oh yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's something that it's like an artistic choice, but it's still simple, and like I think that's what you really want to go for when you make a small game or a low budget game, something that would look good even though it's simple.
Yeah. Definitely agree with that one. And also, if you're making a 3D game, then creating low poly models, that can also be like the 3D version of that, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, pretty much because your game is all black and white, I wonder if like your accessibility with the color blindness, does that fix that? I wonder.
Oh, well, I'll talk about accessibility because it's something I've implemented.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so you did mention stuff about like a dead hog. The main character is really similar in color to the door. And I'm short-sighted. I'm wearing glasses, which is something, I mean, a lot of people use, but some people, they have like, they're short-sighted, or they have um like how do you say, slight sight disabilities, that they have like problem like seeing in focus or stuff like that. My mother had something like that, and in these cases, you might be really confused when you see the player and the door, or you can't really understand what's the difference between, for example, a hedgehog and a pine cone, which is another thing that we have like in one of the
Yeah,
one of the
both
game
are
mechanics.
white with black outlines. That is.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we chose the pine cone in the first place, because it looks relatively similar to a hedgehog. So the problem is, if you're like visually disabled, I think that's the term. Maybe I'm probably wrong about it, but visually impaired, I think that's the better term.
Yeah.
So you might get confused, and that can really, I mean, ruin your gameplay. So what I try to do is to design an accessibility feature that will allow me to play the entire game without having my glasses on. And this
Oh,
is how I tested
wow.
that the game is actually adapted to visually impaired people. And so what I did is to basically ditch the whole black and white palette and give a unique color to every single aspect of the game. And that, I mean, the challenge was that they had to be, on one hand, it would make sense. For example, pine cones are brown and water is blue, but I also wanted it to be really clear that it's not the same thing as something else. So we have flowers, and the flowers, I colored them green, but then I couldn't color the door, the exit, green, because it would confuse people. So, I mean, green would be a really good color for the point that you want to get to, but we decided that we'll change the color palette, so every object will have like a distinct color. Also, after I did like the first like version of it, some people like they told us that maybe it might be, if someone is also colorblind, they might
Yeah. Exactly.
be like they might have problems distinguishing between like red and green, so, and or other like types of color blindness. So Ido, you want to talk about that? Or
Yeah, so after Shaked made the system that allowed the colors, then I went and researched color palettes that should be distinguishable for colorblind people and should look good aesthetically for everyone. And yeah, we did a few runs of testing with different color until we got something that we all thought that makes sense for the game and will be accessible for everyone. And I'm very happy with the result. And actually, I saw some people playing the colored version just because they enjoyed the aesthetic of it, which was.
Yeah, because it's like you're using crayons in that scribbly notebook.
yeah, I mean, I mean, it's interesting because we didn't add color to. I mean, it's something that is, I mean, hidden inside the accessibility menu, and people who are not visually impaired, I mean, that it's not meant for them. But once people found out this option, many players and playtesters, they actually prefer to play the game in the colored version.
That's
Yeah,
really
even
sweet.
yeah, I mean, I think it's good if they prefer it this way. It's great. Even though I keep thinking that if the game ends up with colors, we would have made it like in a different way. If we would have in the first place wanted to make a colorful game. But I think I mean, it's for the best.
I personally think that whenever an accessibility feature is also accommodating people who are not necessarily in the need for this feature, I think it's like a really great job. For example, we have also subtitles whenever there's dialogue. So this is a feature for people who can't hear very well, but also other people use it as well. So I see it's kind of like that with the colors. And about the color palette that you chose, so you guys are saying that the current color palette also supports color blindness?
Yes, we went for a few. We went online and searching for color palettes that colorblind people can differentiate between them. Now there are plenty of types of colorblindness, so
Yeah.
everyone will see it a bit differently, but that palette that we chose supposed to be accessible for as many of them as possible. Yeah.
That's so awesome, because as indie developers with small teams, usually you really need to think about your budget and how you spend your time. So it's really great that you guys were able to take care of that part as well. I think they should definitely be really truly appreciated. I would also
another thing.
yes.
Go ahead. No, another thing I don't know if it's under accessibility, but another thing that is really important to us is to have localization in our game. That it would be like translated to as many languages as possible. And because we don't have a lot of text in our game, and most of our buttons and menus are basically graphic based. You have a button with an image on it instead of like text. Then,
so I guess that was on purpose, right? Avoid as much text as possible.
Originally, we did have a menu with text, and we also implemented localization to this menu. And like the more the game got more developed, we decided that we'll change how, like, we'll have as less text as possible to have the game like be as accessible to everyone. Like it doesn't matter if they can speak the language or read the language that the game's in, but either way, we did want that if you have like some like tooltips in the game or like I don't know tutorial text, that you will have it available in your own language. So that's one of the things we plan to add for the full game. It's not available yet to the demo version.
Yeah, so whenever you create buttons that have like cute drawings instead of words, you're also able to let children play this with more ease, because then like they don't really need to understand how to read. And
Yeah,
I think like this is a good idea in that regard as well, not just localization.
And even the part that have text in them, they usually have like drawings inside the text. For example, the instruction that tell you where to press to move contain like arrow keys, like a drawing of arrow keys. So even if you can't read the text, you see the arrow keys and recognize them on the keyboard and know how to proceed.
Yeah, right. And also another thing that I noticed is that on the menu, the buttons are like relatively large. And I was kind of wondering if that was on purpose for also either accessibility, or maybe because you're thinking about touch screens in the future, something like that.
Yeah, I just wanted, we're thinking of like exporting the game to phones later. So I just wanted to make less work for us. And so I did the menu as if it would be on mobile, and it works really well on desktop too.
Yes, it works really great on desktop, I think. So this is a very good thinking about the future. Make it easy for your future self. And speaking of like accessibility, I saw that you have like a very interesting hinting system. Would you guys want to talk about it?
Oh, gladly. So at first we had the game, like the game had just okay, I'll read it. When you play the game, it was really important to us that everyone will play the entire game, like the first level, then the second, the third, and the fourth, and so on, because we wanted to teach players some aspects before they go to the next more difficult levels. But then something that happened is many people got frustrated and they stopped playing the game because one specific level frustrated them and they couldn't they wanted to skip it or they just couldn't figure out how to do it. And we really try to avoid the frustration feeling. You want to feel puzzled, you want to feel challenged, but you don't want to feel frustrated and rage with the game. So one of the solutions that we spoke about was giving a hint system. That if you are stuck in a level for a while, you can just ask for a hint and then see if that hint will push you in the right direction. And we had a lot of debates, we have many debates about it because we didn't want a hint that we didn't want player to just go for the hint whenever they just get stuck, but we also didn't want the player to just feel frustrated about the game, and we also didn't know which type of hints are we going to use. For example, are we going to show the shape of the prickle, the shape of how the hedgehogs connect to each other? Is that a hint? Is that a good hint? For some levels it is, but for some level it doesn't matter. If you have just two hedgehogs in a level, you know what the shape's going to be. But so we thought, oh, maybe we'll show the first hedgehog that you need to take. But then again, on some level it's a great hint, and on other levels it's meaningless. So in the end, we decided to just show a position that you need to get and in order to finish the level. And I think it was a really good solution, because when I see other people play the game and they get stuck in the level and they use the hint, their first reaction is, oh, this hint is useless. And I know it sounds like a bad thing, but it's a really good thing, because they say the hint is useless, but then after 2 or 3 minutes, they finish the level. So they don't feel like they finished the level because they got a hint and the hint told them what to do. The hint just gave them a push, you need to get to this position, and from this position you have less options that you need to think about in your head. So it's way easier to solve the level this way. So in almost every case, when I see someone uses a hint and try to get in the position that the hint suggests, they solve the level by themselves. They don't feel like the hint gave them the solution, but they do it without feeling frustrated. So I think we did something really good there.
I think so too, because whenever you use the hint, you still want to feel smart. You still want to feel like you're the one who did it, and the answer was not just given to you right away. So that's a really great reaction to look out for from players if you do have this type of hint system. And personally, I can share that whenever I used it, whenever I played the demo, I was like, it was giving me reassurance that I'm in the right direction. It's like, oh yeah, my shape of the hedgehogs looks like this, so I'm probably in the right direction. So I just need to keep trying whatever I'm trying to do right now. So
yeah, it gives you a boost of confidence.
Yes, exactly. Love that. Yes. So
also, you did mention players want to feel smart, and I think that's a really important aspect. That many people, they tell us, hey, I didn't even notice the hint system. Maybe after I'm getting stuck for 10 minutes in a level, you can ask the player if he wants a hint. But we thought about it, and the problem is, if a player gets stuck in a level for 10 minutes, and then he feels bad about himself, he feels, oh, I'm stupid, oh, I can't get it right, and then the game itself tells him, oh, we noticed that you're bad at this game. We noticed you're stupid. I think you need a hint. That's a really bad feeling.
I agree. I think
Yeah.
that whatever you have right now is pretty good.
Yeah, we decided to
mhm.
tell the players in level 4 of the game, which is probably one of the simplest levels, that we didn't think anyone would need a hint though. So in level 4, we tell the player, if you need, there's a hint system. So they'll remember it. And if they don't use a hint for until like level 12, you have another reminder that, hey, just reminding you that there's a hint system. You don't need to use it, but it's there. So instead of telling the player when he gets stuck and he gets frustrated that the developers themselves think he's bad, we say it regardless of how well he's doing. So I think it does make the player feel it doesn't make the player feel less smart, and that's
Yeah.
really important.
Wow, these are really incredible choices that you have made. They're really smart, and I appreciate how much effort you put into making sure the player doesn't feel bad about themselves, and you're actually encouraging them to use the tools that you've prepared for them for their own enjoyment. So much appreciated to learn
Yeah,
about
glad.
that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so another thing that I would say is pretty awesome and unique, and just generally something that usually smaller games don't invest into this is the sound design. Usually, as I see it, like smaller teams just really need to think how they budget their time, how they budget their resources. But for you guys, you have not just one track, but plenty of soundtracks across the game, like for each season, for example. And
Yeah.
they're all very nice and high quality soundtracks, and it's like very fun to listen to even on repeat. And
Oh, thank you so much.
yeah, and I would really appreciate your, like, I would really love to know what's going with like pouring your thoughts. What was your thought process? What was your working process? Because like creating a score that is okay to play in loop over and over again, it's like, what?
Okay, that's a great question. And okay, first of all, I feel like I'm the only one from the team speaking, but I'm sorry, but I mean, audio and sound design, that's my,
Yeah,
like,
after
that's
this
what
one
I
you can
do.
go. You can go.
Yeah, so I apologize to the rest of the team for hogging the microphone. Anyway,
Pun
okay,
intended.
Hey.
oh, I didn't think about it. So anyway, so it's the first thing we need to mention is I was a musician and sound designer for video games, and specifically in Sunbird Studio, way before I learned how to program and develop games. So I did all of the audio for all of our games and game jams that we did before. So that's and I'm a musician by trade. This is my main source of income.
So that's your secret. Okay.
Yeah, so the secret of how to make good music is actually be a musician, be a musician, a professional musician. Yeah. Yeah, so, but I think there are a lot of things that we can say about the music in Prickle that like if I'm giving advices or just giving ideas to people who make music for video games. I think, first of all, the music itself, you can see that I'll tell the story. I think it's a fun story about like in the first game jam of Prickle, there was just one music, one soundtrack. And when we decided to develop it into a full game, we thought about like having a few different soundtracks. So I wrote another piece of music, and the first game we said it will be like autumn themed. And then when I wrote the new soundtrack, one of the team members, Sahar, which is not here, he said, "Oh, it sounds like a summer soundtrack, like Prickle, but the summer version." And that gave us the idea, oh, maybe we will just have a different season for every, that gave us the idea to like divide the game into 4 different seasons and to have like a different vibe and different theme for every season, and different music and different decorations and different mechanics for every season. So that all came from the summer vibe music. That is the summer music of the first season, the summer of Prickle. So that's fun. So what else? I think it's worth mentioning, maybe 3 things. First of all, when I composed the music, it was really important to me to have like some kind of what's gonna be the feeling of the game. So at first we had a debate: is it going to be like a cozy, like wholesome feeling to it, and like?
Oh, your game is very wholesome, I have to say.
Oh, I think it too. But the first music we made was I made like 3 little sketches, and I sent them to the team. And one of them was really relaxed and really like I don't know, it didn't have like a rhythm, and one of them was really like funny feeling. And we decided that we're gonna take the funny feeling. I mean, we like the music that gave the game like its sense of silliness. And when I developed this idea, I started thinking, oh, we are talking about like small creatures, small hedgehogs. So I added a lot of small like short sounds like tuk 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 tuk, stuff like that gave the feeling of something small walking fast. And I think that really like gives the hedgehog feeling through the music. And if you listen closely to every piece of music in the game, they all have like small cowbells, small shakers, small percussion, like that feel like small feet of critters running on the ground. That was what I went with. And you have this thing that connects all of the like the soundtracks of the game, and they are all connected to the main idea of the game, like having hedgehogs. So even so the first like silly music, we still use it in the main menu and the cutscenes, but even when we did try to, when, for example, for the autumn music or the winter music, you have something way more relaxed, you still have these small percussive sounds that like they connect all soundtracks together. And yeah, stop me if I'm talking too much, but that's something I'm really
No,
passionate about.
I definitely enjoy that. Like when you said that the main theme has like these walking small creatures type of sound, and I think it also reminds me of the way that the hedgehogs also talk. It's very similar, like those. Those
Yeah,
sounds
it's
very
all me,
similar.
by the way. I just recorded myself with a lot of small noises. You have like really happy noises for the hoglets, and like angry muttering noises for dead hog. That is like a noise. Yeah, exactly. And we just randomize them every time you collect the hedgehog. And we also added a feature that you can press spacebar, and the dead hog is just, we call it a bark. It's just making a sound, which is, I think, a really cute feature.
Oh yeah, and also it's important to randomize your sounds, like whenever there's something that happens in the game, like more than once.
Yeah, that's really important. And I think like when you do sound design, I think 2 things are really important: randomization and a lot of variations. So whenever I'm doing sound design, for example, I think we have about 30 different hoglet noises, and about the same amount of dead hog noises. So every time you collect a hoglet and it makes a sound, it doesn't get like repetitive. And also all like randomizing the pitch a little bit. So even if you get 3 times in a row the exact same like audio file, you still have a randomization of pitch. So you never feel like this is like you get like what we call ear fatigue. You keep listening to the same sound again and again until you just can't hear it anymore.
Yeah, like for example, sometimes steps in games they sound like ding dong ding dong ding dong, and it just gets so repetitive. So even the change of pitch can really help that. That's a great tip.
Yeah, I think variation is the key in sound design. Also, in music composing, I mean, I think music for video games is way different than music for everything else because we don't know how long the player is going to be in a game.
Yeah.
So if I'm composing for a movie, they can tell me, oh, this scene is going to be like 2.5 minutes, and then I can write the music accordingly. But we don't know how long some players will be in every season. They'll spend like 20 minutes, and some other players will spend 3 hours. So you gotta make music that's loopable, and again, it won't feel like it's too like repetitive. And the problem is making the long music is way harder. So one of my little tricks, and that's something I'm teaching video game. I'm teaching a lesson I'm teaching in music school, and I'm teaching a course in how to make music for video games. And one of the best tips that I can give is you don't need to have, usually in music you have harmony, like all of the background harmony, like chords and stuff, and you have the melody, which is the lead melody, that's like the melody of the song. But when you do music for media in general, but especially for video games, you don't always need to have a melody. You can just have a vibe. So if you listen to every song on Prickle, and that's my signature move. You have it always repeats twice at least, and one of those times will have a melody and the other one won't. So instead of taking like a 1 minute segment of music with a melody and looping it, and then after 30 minutes you'll hear it 30 times, I'm taking it, I'm like duplicating it, but on the second part, like the second duplication, I'm removing the melody. So you have just vibe and chords and like all the accompanying instrument without the leads. So the melody doesn't get stuck in your head and gets annoying because you just don't hear it half of the time. So that's something doing in Prickle. And then you have a 2-minute loop, which if you play for half an hour, you'll hear only 15 times instead of like 30 times. And it's like a really easy thing to do, and to double the length of your music without making it annoying. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say about the music.
I will have to play again and listen to the soundtrack. I've noticed the part where some parts of the music uses the melody and some doesn't. That's interesting. I'm not a music person, so I don't really notice this stuff. But I honestly, I thought that melody is something that has to always appear in all parts of the game, all parts of the music. So that's a very interesting thing to learn. Thank you for that. Okay, that's cool. Okay.
Good. Oh, wait. One last thing. If you're
Yes.
playing the game and listening to the music, there's one last thing I wanted to mention.
Sure.
I'm really proud of that. And I did want the music to be a little bit adaptive, that it will respond to the player's action. So one other thing that I added was if you collect all of the hoglets, the door opens and you just need to get them to the door. So that usually happens at the end of the level once you figure everything out. Not always, but usually.
Yeah.
And so there is another layer of music that adds up and gets added up. When you collect all of the hoglets and the door opens, it's usually like drums or percussion, but sometimes little synths or something like that. And so you'll notice that you have like a little bit more energy in the music when you're about to finish a level, which gives like a really good feeling of satisfaction to the player.
Okay, so you're like adding an extra layer of excitement to the music.
Yeah, exactly. It's not another segment, it's just a layer of percussion that gives a little bit more drive and energy to the
I
soundtrack.
guess for the music people, it's called another channel, if I'm not mistaken.
You can call it another channel, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
channel is if it was in like a production software or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, another channel is fine. Also, another layer of music.
Mhm.
Yeah, both works.
Okay. So Shaked is really proud of the music of the game.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
And
and
what
we're really
about-
proud of Shaked.
That's
Oh, thank you.
great. Good to hear. Good to hear. Yes, positive reinforcement right there. Nice.
Yeah, now I'll shut up for a while.
Now I want to ask, what's Ido and Ori? What are you guys most proud of in the game? Ori, I guess you can start.
Yeah, I can talk about the level design. I'm really happy with how the level design turned out. Because we started with the gem game, and we thought about this mechanic. We first thought about it like as a team, like in a Zoom meeting, and we started thinking about it like as a really abstract thing. Like we thought about squares and Tetris pieces and something that was really abstract. And over time, we added the hedgehog theme, which made the dead hog was to be the pivot of the piece, because we had to thought like how to rotate, because rotating Tetris pieces is not something which is trivial. So making the dead hog, like originally we just wanted like blocks to stick to each other and make a Tetris piece that goes larger and larger without any specific center. And we had trouble of thinking how to rotate it, but then the dead hog idea solved that when we chose it to be the pivot. And after we had this idea and we had like 2 or 3 ideas on paper, we decided to start the game. And during the jam, we made some levels. And one thing that I was really happy about was things just really turned out really well. Like on the short time of the jam, we were able to come up with really nice levels. Like most of the levels you see on the demo, like the first 12 of them have already been like in the first 48 hours of the jam.
What? Just in 48 hours, you had so many great ideas.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
because the mechanic was so good that the levels built themselves in a way that we had there are many things you can do with Tetris pieces and with squares and with sticking them. Like you can the dead hog can stick to the hoglets from different sides. You can there are different shapes. You can have a different center point inside the shape. You can collect the hoglets in a different order. And each small thing, we can there are many things we would have to teach the player in order to play Prickle, and each little thing was very easily mapped into a single level. So all the classic level game design tropes that we read about and heard about and saw videos about really fit this game. So we in the level design, we really followed really classic level design tips. Like every level is one thing that you want to teach the player. So we had a lot of on day one, we had a lot of small things we wanted to teach the player. So we had a lot of levels we can teach the player. And many of them are easy and some of them are harder. And some of them were a bit too hard, and we nerfed them for the full game and then added harder levels later on the game.
Yeah, I did feel like the level progression was very fair, and it did feel like each level became more difficult than the other, but in a very, very fair way. So I do wonder, how did you make sure this type of adjustment of levels? How did you work that out? Because I don't know, sometimes it's really hard to balance that.
Yeah, I think there are 2 things. One of them, that we made levels as easy as possible. like if we had like the choice whether to, like if we thought that the level has two hard things to do, we probably split it to two levels to make each level have one thing to figure out and not several things. And if we had a doubt, then we chose the easier way. And even this way, we still had some levels that were too hard, and for that we just did a lot of playtesting. And each like streamer who played the game, and we like went to like meetings, like playtesting meeting that we bring our game, like physical meeting that people come and play our game. And like each and like festivals and stuff where we showcased our game, and each of these times we saw how players actually play the game, and we we usually like we have a lot of debates in our team of how to do things, and each one really has really strong opinions, and sometimes we can like really not agree about stuff. And when this happens, we just say, okay, let's playtest that. Let the players decide.
Exactly.
And a lot of things that were initially too hard or initially were not as we thought they would be, or things that I thought that they should be one way, and then players just did it the other way. So we just used playtesting like to iron the game and make it as smooth as possible. For everyone, and also we sometimes needed to not listen to testers and to understand what was the underlying issue and fix that, and not like the specific thing that they complained about.
Do you have an example for when you were not supposed to listen to the players? To the testers?
Yeah. Does anyone else have an example? I can think of one in the meanwhile.
Maybe like, oh, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say that many playtesters asked for a skip button, but we did actually add the skip button. But that was like something that even a lot of playtesters asked for that. We weren't sure, and it's still a complicated decision because if player skips levels, it's just going to become more and more difficult. They have to understand the current level in order to understand the next levels. So when people say they want to skip levels, what we take from that is that they are having difficulties with that level. So that's what we really have to think about how to adjust. I think the reason we did decide to add skip at the end is because we understand some players, it's just their style of playing. Like they like to go and go back, and we want to support that, but we still kind of hiding that option because it's not a solution. If you get stuck, you should push through, otherwise it will only get worse. So that's kind of how we get feedback. We have to understand what is the real cause and not just implement whatever we get, any request that we get.
I also wanted to mention the skip button, but Ido said it before me. But I think I have an example of something that a lot of playtesters told us we need to add, and we didn't do it. Which is, I mean, it's a bit niche, but in most puzzle games, you press R to restart, and it immediately restarts your game. So if you press R by accident, you can undo the restart. We chose a different method. When you press R, it doesn't restart the game. You need to hold R for about like a second, and then it restarts the game. And if you you can undo all of your actions. And many players are used to being able to undo a restart. So because of that, they keep saying, oh, why can't I undo the restart? Why can't I do it? But when we look at them play, they never restart on accident. They never need this feature anyway, because we just didn't put it on like, you can't just press it by accident. And that's, by the way, because like in the original version of the game, like the game jam version, you could press R to restart without holding it, and then everyone kept like pressing it all the time in accident. So when we I think we don't really need an undo a restart undo, and it will also like complicate the game, because right now you can like hold the undo button and it will take you all the way back, and if you can like undo the restart, you can also can also like take you to the last restart. It will get things more complicated than they are, and I think we just chose a different solution to the same problem. Instead of being able to undo a restart, you just need to hold R to restart. And I think maybe it's a really small problem, but that's something that I can think of that a lot of playtesters are saying, but we think they are saying it just because they are used to something else. And when we see them play, they don't really need this feature. So we don't add it to the game. Sorry for all of the puzzle gamers, Chocoban players that are used to to undo a restart.
Actually, you guys indeed have two features that support this. One is indeed the restart, but also you mentioned the undo, which we didn't previously discuss. And I've heard that you said you can restart everything until you go back to the beginning of the game. Is that right?
When I'm saying like you can restart a level, which will just you'll start the exact same level again, and you can like hold the undo button, which will just take you like the undo will.
How many undos can I do?
You have unlimited undo.
Wow! So you're saving all of your actions?
Oh, wait, this is your time.
Yeah, sure. You're saving all your actions. If you'll do too much actions, then eventually your computer's memory will explode. But if you're like not doing it on purpose, then it's pretty impossible to get to this state.
Yeah, and if it was possible to rewind, restart, and then do all of that undo again, it would really mess up, I feel like, the
I don't think it, not necessarily.
Okay.
Well, we haven't tried that, but not necessarily.
Try to do version control on that one. I'm joking. Okay. Ido, maybe you have anything that you're like really proud of in the game?
Yeah. So, like, this is our first commercial game, the first game that we plan to sell. Our studio does a lot of game jam games in Ludum Dare, and one thing that I'm always proud that in our games we spend a lot of time polishing the games. Like I feel like half the time of the game jam we're just polishing. We're not adding anything new. We're not, and I think that was something that allowed us to make the transition from the jam game to a commercial game, because it's like a different state of mind. Game jam can be very hacky, and the fact that we are already used to working together, and we have like kind of a organized system, and we are making it. We put a lot of effort to make everything work smoothly, and think about the UI, how it goes with the gameplay, and everything. Just make a complete experience. I think that really helps us to make it possible. And I'm so maybe for companies that's kind of the obvious. The game must have that level of polish, but for us that we come from game jams and we try our first commercial game, I'm very happy with the level of polish that we are achieving here.
Oh,
and I think
yeah, for
maybe
sure.
it's my thank you. Maybe it's my my own preference to have things like organized and correct, and that also goes well with puzzle games. But yeah, it's satisfying to have that feeling from the project and make everything work correctly and focus on that. And also, I'm happy. I did work in Israeli game companies before that are not indie, and I'm very happy about we are putting the game first. I mean, our experience of the game first, unlike, well, a company have to put the profit first and
Yeah.
have to make like how to get like you
Monetization,
make a lot of
probably?
decisions, monetizations, or you make a lot of decisions based on what will be the most profitable way to make the game. And we don't have to use those uh, considerations. We just do what feels fun for us, and that's, I feel like that's why I came to the game industry, to do the things that I just want to think about how the end player will enjoy what I'm doing, will have the magical moment, will have how to create fun, like and it's, I'm so happy that we can focus on that, and yeah, so that makes my work on that project so enjoyable.
Yeah, and I really hope that with the success of Prickle, you will be able to continue the same approach, the same principle to your future games as well, because I do think
hope.
this is the strength of indie developers and smaller teams, not they really truly care about delivering an awesome experience for others. And maybe there's another. Yes?
That's the dream.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think there's like another interesting lesson here is whenever you want to do some like team building and be sure that you guys can all work well together. It's like, yeah, to do some game jams together as a whole team and see how things are working out. And after that, after a few successful ones, you can see that you guys can all work greatly together and work on an actual commercial release. So that's also a good takeaway from this, from what you shared with us, Ida.
Yeah, by the way, I mean, the game jam is how we met, but it's also how we decided that we are good as a team. I mean,
Nice.
I like the team was built originally when I made the music for one of Ori's game jams, and then a year later he asked me again to be the composer for his game jam, and he added like a few other people, and I mean there were a lot of other people that we just didn't have good enough chemistry. And then Ido joined, and Ido joined us for every game jam since. And then Sahar, our art guy, joined, and since then, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, we did like a game jam every few months, and I think and we didn't add anyone else to the team because we already felt that we have anything we need and we worked well together. So it's not only the team building, but also like actually finding the people that you work well with. And game jams are a really good way to do that.
Yeah. Game jams are really great networking tools to find new people as well. So that's an awesome tip right there. So maybe I have like now another. Maybe let's go back to like game design. I do have a question about like what kind of aspects of Prickle do you think make it fun? I'll give an example. For example, I just really like how reactive everything is. Like, for example, the walls, they jiggle when they are touched. So this is like something that really adds some fun because also there are those clouds when the hedgehogs are walking around. This kind of makes the game feel more alive to me, and I wonder if you guys have any other things that you think make Prickle like really Great
that's
to
really
play.
Ori's lane. He calls it, well, I mean, it's not he calls it, we call it a juice.
Yes, the
That's the
juice.
juice of the game. Yes, so
Mhm.
Ori is the juice master. Ori?
Yeah, actually, many of those things are very weirdly like team efforts. Like the jiggling of the wall, I think Shaked added it first. Is that right?
Yeah, but I did it like I mean, you did it way better after you like
Yeah, but
perfected
Shaked
it.
added the jiggling, and then I saw the jiggling, and I thought, hey, I can make it a bit more physically like sensible. So I like Shaked like thought of it, and I tweaked it, and the result is like completely a team effort.
Mhm.
And maybe like other things are like Sahar, like drew all the hoglets and all the art in the game, but then like we like took this art and, for example, I thought that the dead hog should be black to stand out. So I just like painted it, like I took the original sprites by Sahar and painted them black. So a lot of little things in the game are actually like touched by many people until they got their final version, and that's something I really like about our chemistry in the team.
You guys are very lucky to have one another on the team.
Yeah, even
That's
the
right.
idea itself was like composed. Like when we thought about the idea, like we had like in the jam we had like two final ideas. One was about like a shark that's jumping from the water and like squeezing on a boat. I don't really remember. And the other thing was this idea that was originally like Tetris shapes. And we thought between these two, and I thought, and we said like, well, we have this Tetris shapes idea, but it has no animals in it. And the shark is way cooler. And then I don't remember who said that, hey, we have this idea, but we can add animals to it. We can make it like
Really?
hedgehogs. And then like, and even the hedgehog, even the entire idea was like not idea of a single person. It was like a team effort.
Yeah, I think originally it was magnets, and it was, and then we said,
Ah.
oh, a magnetic hedgehog. Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah, there are those magnets that kind of spike up around when you put them together. But I am happy that you guys went with the hedgehog idea because it's so cute, so adorable. I love it so much.
Yeah, I think that's the selling point of our game. That it's like a cute hedgehog and fun and cute.
Yes, love it so much.
It wouldn't be the same without it.
Yeah.
Yes. The fact that you specifically chose hedgehogs, I think, also helps the game feel more fun. And like Shaket said about the music, that we made it more funny and trickstery. So I think that also adds to the fun of the game, makes it more like alive. Are there any more examples for how the games is more fun to you guys with your like special tricks?
I can talk a bit more about the game design.
Yes.
There are two things that really went well in this game. For example, when you start a puzzle level, you really don't know what to do, and the solution is somehow convoluted sometimes. But in Prickle, there is usually like a solution that seems obvious, that the user would like see it immediately and would start doing it, and then they would realize that it doesn't work, and then they would have to stop and think.
Yeah.
For example, if they just collect the hoglets like on the way, like they are laid out on how they are close to the initial point of the dead hog, it would usually won't work.
Yeah.
So it means the player can usually start and try something even before they even start thinking about the game, about the level, and only then they learn through their hands, which is nice, and it drives them to act. And also sometimes they think they know the solution, but because hedgehogs are sticky, and because another hedgehog would stick to you if you just go past it, sometimes you will stick to hedgehogs without wanting to. So you will have to, so you'll start doing something and then it won't work for you. And then you will be like, oh no. So this is like this, like like we didn't come up with this idea of like having like this game design trope. We didn't think of it, but we did implement it in the game. But I think the mechanics of the game really support that. The fact that hogwarts are so sticky, and the shape is really not intuitive to squeeze through all the paths of the game.
Yeah. I've been in my when I played it, then it did happen to me from time to time, and I will just say that maybe it's most likely my fault, but it took me like a good amount of levels to understand that the center of rotation matters, like the pivot, like where it pivots from. It it like actually took me quite a few levels to understand that my pivot center is the dad hog. So yes, I suppose those principles that you've mentioned are being able to be accomplished in this type of game that you have, where it's like Tetris-like shapes.
Yeah, the idea is in the first few games, in the first few levels, you don't really need to understand the pivots of like the rotation around that hog.
Probably.
You can complete them in a few different ways, and it doesn't really matter. And
Yeah.
just after a certain amount of levels, when we are confident that the player got all of the other principles, we add, like I think in level 6 is the first level where it actually matters, which like not only what shape you make of the hedgehogs, but also where that hog is inside the shape.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's
I
also
also wanted to add something about like what Ori said, that is like a really like a nice outcome, that because when you first look at a level, usually you go like, oh, this is really easy. So when we watch a lot of streamers, many times they're like, okay, this is the last level, this is the last level. And then they complete the level, they see the next level, and they say, oh, wait, this one is really easy. And they go and think, oh, I'm gonna like finish it in 10 seconds. And then they get stuck. And then they get like their personal mission is to show all of the viewers that, oh no, it is easy, let me show you. And then like after 10 minutes, they're still stuck in the same level, but now they can quit. And then they finish the level, they get to the next one, and they're, oh wait, this one is really easy. And so on and so forth. But I think it's a really good, like, it's a really good feeling when you start a new level and you're not overwhelmed. That's something that I experience in a lot of puzzle games. You start a new level and you're just overwhelmed by the amount of complexity in the new level. That's something we don't have in Prickle, and that's by choice. As always said before, if you have a level that's too complicated, we just divide it into two different, really simple levels that are still difficult, but they are not overwhelmingly complex. And I mean, difficulty is just, I mean, when we make a really small level, then that you just think, okay, how many options can I do here? But it still seems impossible. That's when we know we made a really good level.
Yeah, and also
makes,
yes.
Yeah, it also makes really good fail videos, which are good for social media.
Yeah, when someone is like super confident, oh yeah, I got this, and then 10 minutes later, it's all the same. But also, so the more time people maybe spend, like, then eventually when they figure it out, they have two reactions. Either like, oh, I was stupid, or like, aha, I'm awesome, yes. So this kind of
the aha moment.
yes, like this kind of roller coaster of emotions. It does remind me a little bit of programming, where you're like, oh yeah, I got this, or like, oh no, this is so bad. So I feel like this is a very similar experience to puzzle games.
One of the problems with Prickles is we playtest each other. So when Ori makes a level, for example, we are playtesting it. But the problem is we are programmers. So we are used to the feeling of just trying so many things and failing that even if it takes us a lot of time, we don't feel necessarily the frustration that many players feel. but when I'm like, one of my friends, she started playing the game and just in level 6 or 7, for like a few minutes, she couldn't get it. And she's like, oh, this makes me feel stupid. And then she left it. And I'm like, wait, that's the point. I mean, you need, it takes time. And I mean, that's something, I mean, programmers, I think, are not good playtesters for these kind of games. Or
Yeah.
I mean, they're really used to this feeling of frustration and things not working out.
Yeah, this roller coaster of emotions of things working out and then things are going bad and then bad again and then good again. So all of that roller coaster of emotions. Blah. Yes, I think programmers are more used to it. Maybe that's why they're more accommodated to puzzle games. Right. So, was there anything like extra difficult to make in like the technical perspective? I don't know. I'm curious.
Ori, do you want to talk about the level solver?
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah, I can
The
talk about that.
level solver. Ooh.
Yeah. When I'm building a level, I was never sure if there was like an easy way to solve it that I didn't think about. And actually many times I like sent out a level to the team and they solved it like in a different way than I thought, or in a much easier way. Like usually as I said, a level usually has a specific trick you need to figure out, and some other ways that seem obvious but do not work. And sometimes the obvious ways did work, but just not for me when I built the level. So it just breaks the entire intent of me who wrote the level. So to save up some of the iterations of sending the level out and seeing how people solve it, I built like an automatic level solver that like takes tries all the possibilities and like makes like a BFS tree search on all the possibilities and basically solves the level with a few steps as possible. So it doesn't always work. If there are too many hoglets and pine cones on the level, then it usually explodes and doesn't work. If there are like 6 or more, it usually doesn't work. But in other ways, it helps me figure out that there are no other ways to solve the level. And like it took like a few days to build, but now it really saves me a lot of time when I'm designing the levels.
That's such a cool tool to have. I think it can also help you guys with developing Steam achievements, because then you know what is the fastest way or like simplest way to solve a level, and then like do this level in X steps, and you know which one is the minimal steps count.
Yeah, we actually thought about this, adding this mechanic to the game, but we thought that it really aims like for the completionist type of player, and we actually thought that our game is like more casual and laid back.
Oh yeah.
Like we didn't want people to like obsess over the number of steps, but maybe we'll add it like
Steam achievements.
Yeah, like an additional. The problem with Steam achievements that we may think of it as something like extra, but some people really think of this as the core of the game.
Oh wow. That might add just a little bit of replayability, I think. Like maybe for like the first round, you can not share. You can just avoid sharing this type of aspect of the game. Maybe on the second play. Yeah.
Because we don't try to build our levels in a way that, I mean, we don't think about what will be the shortest way to solve this puzzle. So I think that might be something that if someone wants to do it, that's fine. I mean, the same way that Celeste players choose to complete the game without grabbing any walls. I mean, that's something you can do if you want, but
That's
we're not
true.
encouraging it. I mean, the levels are not built to, oh, this is like, you can do it in X steps, or you can do it in the shortest amount if you are smart enough. That's not something the levels are made for. So if we'll add achievements, I mean, again, let's imagine that in Celeste you'll have an achievement for completing the entire game without grabbing. That would encourage people to do that, and it will, I mean, that will hint that that's something that you need to be able to do if you're good enough at the game. But in our case, we don't think about our game, I mean, as like, oh, if you're smart enough, you'll do it in X step. That's not like a really significant part of our game. And this is why we decided not to give achievements for it. If someone wants to do it, that's fine. I mean, speedrunners and completionists are like they have their whole thing, and we don't want to tell them what to do. If you want to complete Prickle and speedrun it or whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
But we are not telling you what would be the best way to do it.
I get that because it keeps the game cozy. It keeps the game wholesome with its vibes. So I definitely get that.
Yeah, and also if you finish the game, basically you'll have all of the achievements. And then you'll feel good about yourself. Oh, I finished the game. I achieved all of the achievements. I'm a smart person. Instead of saying, oh, I completed only like 10% of the achievements. Oh, now I need to go over again. And some people just don't have the time or like the motivation to do so. So they'll feel like they didn't accomplish enough. And we don't want this feeling. We just want a fun experience and a wholesome feeling to the game.
That's an interesting perspective. I totally get it. Like some games, they can have those type of accomplishments, but the others don't really have to have those. And the community, if they wish, they can make those problems for themselves, I would say. So I definitely get that decision making. All right. Probably like one of the last questions I have is what did you guys learn from Prickle for your next project?
So one thing that we learned is that we can do it, because until now, like I said, we only did game jam games. So I think we are very happy with the result. And I think, well, we still have to get to the final point and release the game, but I feel we have high confidence that we'll get there. There aren't many big challenges left in our way, and so we know we can do it. We know we can work together. We can rely on each other, and I think that for me that gives me a lot of confidence that we can make the next game. Like this was like a test. We are trying to see if we can make game jam into something real, and now we can, and we still have a lot more that we want to do with that game. Like you mentioned before, that it fits to a mobile version, and I'm sure that will have its own challenges. So mostly, like I said, the main point is that I feel like we got the confidence that we are capable of releasing a high quality game together, and as far as I'm concerned, we will keep doing that.
Yay! That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so yeah, I really enjoyed hearing from you guys about the behind the scenes kind of thing for Prickle. Like puzzle games are one of my favorite genres, and I think Prickle is like onto something really special. So good luck with the release. Yes. Anything?
Thank you.
Yes. Anything you'd like to share with the audience before we say goodbye? Anything?
The demo is out, so everyone can play it.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I was about to say it's a good time for the shameless plug.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
Wish lists and or buy Prickle, depending on whenever you're listening to this. And the Steam page will be in the description.
Yeah, and of course the demo is free. You can play like the first 15 levels or so, and to see if you like the game. I think that's more than recommended. And you can also like search the word Prickle game in Google, and it will be the first thing you'll find.
Nice. Okay. So, Studio Sunbird, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you for hosting.
And thank you guys for listening. So let's continue the discussion about Prickle on Discord. It's linked in the description too. And of course, have a lovely rest of your time zone.